Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, world. Thank you for joining us today on Morning Spring on Western Spring Television here on Channel 190 on Star Times TTT, where we say it, RCTs. Thank you once again for joining us. Femi Ojo remains my name, and it gives us great pleasure to welcome you today. Good morning, Evelyn.
Good morning, Femi. How are you doing today?
Very well.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's another beautiful Wednesday, the 20th day in the month of November 2024. And indeed, we are grateful to God for life. My name is Evelyn Ohiolei, welcoming you specially to the midweek installment of Morning Spring for this week.
Of course, you're welcome, especially that is the mood this morning, and trust us to bring to you on a platter those things that you want to hear, those things that you want to know, and maybe some of those things that you might not be too comfortable to hear, but very important to the progress and the survival and the flourishing of this great nation called Nigeria, because it has to do with the betterment of this great nation nationally, subnationally, and even at the local area, sometimes beyond the shores of this nation as well. Talking about the prosperity of the people and the welfare, Osun State yesterday finally announced 75,000 naira as its own, minimum wage baseline. 75, okay, and I think Ekiti announced 70,000 as well. So the Osun civil servants, the least will be paid if actually is paid, and as and when due will be earning at least 75,000 now. So let me ask you, Evelyn, is that a fair call?
Well,
I know you're not a civil servant, but
in comparison to the other states and what the federal government announced, it's a fair call. But talking economically and what is obtainable, the reality on ground, I don't think it's a fair call.
Yeah.
I have never thought the 70,000 naira was a fair call. So, I mean, but in comparison to what other states are doing, what the federal government announced, I mean, that's 5,000 naira above what the federal government announced. But the only thing is, while the negotiation was ongoing, the tripartite committee and all of that, the state governors at that round table said they cannot afford to pay 60,000 naira. I remember vividly where they said they cannot afford to pay 60,000 naira, except if they would owe.
Okay.
That the reality on ground is many states cannot afford to pay 60,000 naira.
Okay.
And when the federal government announced 70,000 naira and other states started announcing their minimum wage, I was just seeing 75, 72, 85, 80. I'm like, okay, so where did the money come from all of a sudden? Who talked to you guys?
Okay.
But it's all good that the announcements are being made by different state governors. But I am super interested in the implementation, the payment.
Yeah.
A whole lot of people says it's very easy to announce. But when it comes to the execution and the implementation, that is when you're gonna have a problem.
Very right. And okay. We hope we won't have problem. They won't have problem paying, because rightfully so. Maybe because some of those governors who said they can't pay 60,000 naira, all of them announcing at least 70,000 naira now. You don't want to think maybe they just want to join the bandwagon so that they don't look like a weakling. They don't look like the bad one or the bad egg. And when the implementation is now on the table, then you begin to see consolidated or whatever kind of names they will give to the salary. Okay, collect this one now, collect this one now. And many persons have talked about the consequential adjustment, to say, okay, if the least paid will be earning 70,000 at least as it stands right now, then that means up the ladder, then it will be consequential. But what we are hearing, especially in the academic world, shows otherwise. I said it's not that consequential, the adjustment, because if the person at the stature of a professor, the only thing that will be added to his take home will be 15,000 naira, a professor, and then when we want to ask if that really consequential, if actually significant, but then whatever it is, let these things be paid. Don't let the governor just come out to make promises. You know, when people go to donation and then somebody is dropping 1 billion, 1 million, somebody that has hope of, plan of dropping 100,000 naira, the moment people around you are dropping it in millions, and then you don't want to be like the odd one out, even when you know fully well that you can't pay. Oh, 2 million, people will clap. Oh, Mr. O has done the needful. And then you begin to pursue them up and down for donations, and we hope it wouldn't be like that. But then 75,000 for Oshun workers, is that fair? Is that sustainable? Because implementation is one thing. How about the sustainability?
Exactly.
Not just to pay once or twice, and especially many persons have, in a way, saying maybe first-time governors might want to pay to cement their second-time ambition, because we have many of them that are first-timers. Yeah. How about the second-timers that are not coming again, especially others? We'll stay on this matter, but this is the matter that we are talking about. And in the conversation today, it will be a very, very lovely one. You don't want to miss it at all, especially the, trade tackling and the world words between the camp of the former president, Olusegun Obasanjo, and the presidency that has come out, gone smoking, gone blazing, talking about a response to what he said.
The former president has a camp. I think, Olusegun Obasanjo is a one-man poll.
Yeah.
If we should put it that way.
And
I don't think he has a camp.
A former army general, by the way. So bring it on. But then, what is the truth in what the both camps are saying? Is the thing, and how does this impact on the well-being of this great nation called Nigeria? And these are some of the issues we'll be looking at today. But right now, the papers are in, and we'll be back. Stay with us. All right, I will be kickstarting the newspaper segment from The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper is my first point of call this morning. 2025 Appropriation Bill. 2025 Appropriation Bill. Fiscal hurdle await 47.9 trillion naira budget. MDAs mobilization capacity. Again, 2025 Appropriation Bill. Fiscal hurdle awaits 47.9 trillion naira budget. MDAs mobilization capacity. And here is a quote. While the proposed budget is ambitious, it is essential to implement effective strategies to increase revenue generation. This includes strengthening tax administration, expanding the tax base, and improving tax compliance. By taking these steps, Nigeria can work towards a more sustainable fiscal future. An all revenue target, according to that document, is put at 19.6 trillion naira. That's all revenue. And deficit is 13.07 trillion naira. And non-oil taxes, 5.7 trillion naira. Government-owned enterprises to generate 2.87 trillion naira. 3.6 trillion naira is what is the mark for independent revenue, and other sources is to garner 4.8 trillion naira. Just a breakdown, kind of what is expected in that document. 19.6 trillion naira will be gotten from oil revenue, and that is the way it is. All right, and the quote attributed possibly to the 2025 appropriation bill, talking about tax here, expanding the tax base, and improving tax compliance, tax administration. What I keep hearing here, and Evelyn, is tax, which is not necessarily about it, is a good one. But how about cutting of running cost of the government? Because that's one thing that is not here. It's looking like expand the tax base, expand the tax net, and the compliance of those are supposed to pay the tax. It's all about making money. But how about the utilization of such money? That's one important thing that we must talk about here. And on Doguba poll, Ajayi rejects the result, vows to take legal action. Here we go. Senate VP bid Uba farewell with glowing tribute. You remember, that's late Senator Ifeanyi Uba. And food insecurity threatens Nigeria's stability future, says minister. So what are you guys doing about it? Federal government revokes directives relating to NYSC posting restrictions. And Tompolo accuses Navy of aiding oil thieves. Okay, that is the man in charge of the private firm, engaged by the federal government to, secure the waterways, the installations, and, coal piracy. And if such a person is coming out to accuse the Navy of aiding oil thieves, then we should take that very seriously, because he's his terrain, by the way. He's from that axis, and then he has been a militant before this particular arrangement. Navy of aiding oil thieves. And Falana underscores right to free education, flays errant state government. Again, Falana underscores right to free education, flays errant state government. News page 7. And again, bottom strip, expansionary budget will worsen inflation and forest crisis. NES wants federal government. That will be all from the Guardian. By the way, that reminds me, yesterday was Men's International Day, okay, and it was so quiet, like nothing happened. Evelyn, even you on this table, even all of the females that I have around, what exactly is the issue? To make it worse, even the men, many of them are not even aware.
Exactly. I was about to say that. Don't push the blame.
No, I'm not pushing any blame. No, this is not a blame game.
Another gender, when your own gender was quiet. You on the table yesterday didn't say anything, and I know it wasn't deliberate. It's because you forgot. Okay. So you don't tell us, oh, the women forgot to celebrate the men, when you men actually forgot your day. So please let us breathe.
All right. Next.
Let us breathe. But then, happy International Wednesday.
No. That doesn't count again. That doesn't count. You've already made your point. Let's go.
We should go.
Then there will be retribution. There will be, what is it called? In as much you have done your teeth,
there will be a tat.
All right. Moving on. Let's go.
All right, moving on to the Punch newspaper this morning. The big bold headline here is focusing on party politics, and this focus is on the opposition party, the PDP, and the crisis in that particular party. Damagum to remain chair as NWC state chairman meet with the rider pro-Wike governors insist on keeping Damagum till October 2025 as NEC meeting tops agenda. Remember that meeting was postponed till this month, especially to allow for the off-cycle elections in Ondo State to take place before the NEC. But then, even with the postponement, the PDP was not able to clinch the seats in Ondo State and even in Edo State. Umari Damagum has been in the eye of the storm, with some members of the PDP saying that he's been used by the APC, especially Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to bring crisis to the party. And now we hear that some pro-Wike NWC wants him to remain in office till October 2025. There were allegations and accusations against Damagum that he has been having secret meetings with Mr. President. How this will pan out, we'll wait to see, in the coming NEC of the PDP. I think that should be November 28th, 2024. Away from that, you can see the picture of the farewell to Senator Ifeanyi Uba, who who represented the people of Anambra South before his demise. He died July 26, and now tribute as Senate holds valedictory session for late Uba. It's a sad one, I should say. And you can also see the Vice President Kashim Shettima there also giving a speech at that valedictory session. We hope that God will give the family, his family, the fortitude to bear the loss, and also the people of Anambra State, especially Anambra South, and the entire National Assembly and Nigeria at large. Away from that, Ajayi heads to court as Ayedatiwa gets certificate of return. One person is getting the certificate of return, and one other person is running to the courts because he is not in support, or he is not in agreement with the results that was announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. 4 UK-based Nigerian students jailed over street fight. 4 UK-based Nigerian students jailed over street fight. I hope they are not Ibadan people, because Ibadan has it in their oriki that Ijagboro. And if you know what Ijagboro means, it means street fight. They pride themselves with that, by the way. But away from that, agents petition NCAA as foreign airlines sell tickets in dollars. Agents petition NCAA as foreign airlines sell tickets in dollars. These are the issues. You're selling your tickets in dollars in Nigeria. How does that, even happen? It's like Nigerians selling a Nigerian airline, let's say Oyema now, Airpeace, selling a ticket in Naira.
In Bangladesh or in UK.
It won't happen.
And it's ridiculous, actually.
It won't happen.
So people will have to go and source for dollars before they can travel. Ticket.
And we've always talked about the pressure on our foreign exchange on dollars. Now I
think that's ridiculous and disrespectful, actually.
And I hope that the minister in charge of this particular ministry, Festus Keyamo,
there should be sanctions. You don't do that.
We'll look into that.
It's very disrespectful to the sovereignty of this nation.
Top corner, APC PDP governors disagree over oil revenue sharing. Dangote refinery begins petrol export to West African nations. They say a prophet is not usually honored in his own hometown.
I think that adage or that line should be tired by now.
It should be tired.
I'm telling you.
Of course, we knew, I actually read a report of Ghana saying they were going to come import oil, fuel, petrol from Nigeria, but we that own the refinery, where the refinery is based, it's always a back and forth, accusation, counter accusations here and there. I mean, it's given. We do not know what we're doing at this time. AG uncovers 4.6 billion naira unapproved spending in Umahi's ministry. Accountant General uncovers 4.6 billion naira unapproved spending in Works Ministry. And lastly, from the Punch newspaper, 5 soldiers, 50 terrorists killed, and NSCDC agents missing in Borno, Niger. That will be all from the Punch newspaper this morning.
All right, from the Punch newspaper, we move very well to the Daily Trust. The Daily Trust newspaper. Traditional rulers not afraid of governance. Sultan. Traditional rulers not afraid of governance. Sultan says no project greater than educating youths. Another writer says safety rests on their empowerment. Shatima and leaders must emulate Sardauna's leadership strategy. Ex-Niger governor. You can see the picture there of the Sultan of Sokoto, Sahad Mohammed Abubakar, and then former governor of Niger State, Babangida Ali, and Kaduna State Governor Senator Ubasani, and Vice President Kashim Shettima, at place yesterday at an event rather. And it's quite good to say there is no project greater than educating youth, especially from the Sultan. Let that be put in action, in real action, not just to say it for political expediency. Now, below that, Nigeria's debt profile to hit 138 trillion naira as Tinubu seeks fresh 1.8 trillion naira. Again, Nigeria's debt profile to hit 138 trillion naira as Tinubu seeks fresh 1.8 trillion naira. When you hear fresh, you think it's about food or vegetable or something, but it's about loan, new one. All right. I hope people at the DMO are watching. They have to really be on the lookout because they have a work to do. And now, economic challenge has pushed 130 million people into poverty. That's coming from Smedan. 130 million people into poverty. People living below the $1 mark every year. And impossibly, we're talking about $1 that is around 1516, 1650. Anybody living below that. And I'm sure many persons are even living way below that, a day. That's what I mean. And federal government lifts the ban to post core members to banks and others. Why? Okay. All right. There was a reason before, but that is no more popular now. Now, moving on, 5 soldiers, 30 terrorists killed as Boko Haram attacks troops in Borno. What audacity. 5 soldiers, 30 terrorists killed as Boko Haram attacks troops in Borno, and that's why many persons are calling on the government to root off these Lakurawas that they have said is less than 200. Better get them off these lands, and not just to push them, neutralize them, as early as you can, so that their tentacles will not be spread in as much as they're battling Boko Haram, more than 13, 14 years after. And here, 13 months after, Tinubu yet to appoint ambassadors. I thought about these few days ago. About 109, embassies are without ambassadors. And so no emissary per se. Of course, you have career officers there, but what can they do? You know the kind of pressure that will be at those embassies, because request, inquest, questions, many things will be sought from those different embassies. You can imagine the spate or the kind of confusion that will be happening to Nigerians in those countries, because they will have no answers, actually. And even if they have answers, how many things can the career officers handle without the ambassadors in those nations? 109 of them. That is what it is. And why Enugu is spending 33% of budget on education. That's quite impressive to know. 33%. Okay. That's almost 1/4, more than 1/4 of, more than 1/3 or close to 1/3 of the budget on education. I think this is the first time in a long while that we'll see a government, pull such an amount on money. And let's see, on education, let's see the result, especially in the coming years as well. That'll be all from the airline segment for today. But before we leave, 2 things for me. Number one video, did you see it yesterday, went viral about the manhandling of a particular driver by some soldiers. Did you see the video?
Yeah, of course I did. So,
yeah.
And, there were different narratives
right?
as to what had happened. But irrespective of what happened, that was inhumane. It doesn't matter if you were a man in uniform and the other person is just a bloody civilian, like they say it. I feel we should first be humans, and that is not only speaking to that Army General or his orderlies, is also speaking to every Nigerian out there. What do you do when the camera is not up? A lot of people do, worse things.
Many of us are mean,
to, their neighbor, to their fellow citizens, and you wonder if they are humans. These people do not have cameras following them, so we might not really be privy to what they do. And these are the same people that will come out and start pointing accusing fingers at some other person.
Our politicians.
So I believe as Nigerians, as humans, we should first be kind. It doesn't matter what happens. How do you react to issues? How do you,
And follow the law. Actually, because those guys, some were saying the guy possibly hit their car or do whatever. My own thing is, whatever the guy has done, right? Either the guy is the one that is wrong, or he has, he drove badly at that point, or he injured somebody. There is a law Can you apprehend him and hand him over to the people that will treat the matter? That's the way it should be done. Now the guy, you could see like in a kind of kidnapping and abduction version. That was the way it was done. The door was open, blows from here and there. And the guy that was doing all those things was under the supervision of a superior, of a senior officer. Yeah. He was doing those things. There was a place that the guy gave him some punches, and the senior guy was, hitting the guy with the leg as well. At the end of the day, the guy had a bloody face or whatever. And let's say, assuming without conceding that the guy was in the wrong, the driver of the car, and another lady was there. Yeah. Come on. We are still talking about the trust deficit between men in uniform and the civilians, because many persons, instead of respecting them, they rather fear them. The moment you see uniform men, you tell your children, please get inside, because you don't know what can happen. Yeah. Either they are trigger happy or they are just hungry. Yeah, the guy might have done what is wrong, but what's with that? What do we look like in the face of the rest of the world, even within the shores of this nation? And that's quite crude. You would think we are in 1902 or 1903. You wouldn't think this is 2024. And what the woman was videoing, we got to round off. One of that officer was trying to snatch the phone. Yeah. Why are you recording? I will break your phone. How do this? Just because you're in camouflage. It's sad. And when the people react, then it's free for all, and then the people will be thrown under the bus. I think the Nigerian army or whatever, the military formation should inspect these, and they should make, this is not the time for camaraderie to say it's our own. No, you should make a very resounding statement so that confidence can be restored. The people can respect the men in uniform instead of, they panicking at the sight of the men in uniform. And finally, just like what we said earlier, yesterday was Men's International Day. Many persons, truthfully told, many men were not even aware, because the day is not popular years after years, because they have always been, the truth is, many men are always focused on the things that they think matters, and they wouldn't really celebrate themselves. So this has been celebrating every man, fathers, brothers, uncles, cousins, you taking responsibility for many other persons and forgetting to celebrate yourselves. Your dreams are valid. Your works has been appreciated. In fact, yesterday I had to tell somebody, it is the time for you to just take maybe a 1,000 or whatever to at least spend on yourself, to say, me too, I worth them. Somebody said 10% is for God. 5% of my income, now me get them. So to all the men, you are doing well. I celebrate you. All right, we'll go on this quick break. When we return, the program will continue. Stay with us.